everybody, and welcome to another edition of Seminoles Daily. I'm your host, Rob Krause, wishing you all a happy Tuesday. That's right, I know it's Tuesday. Ugh, that horrible day of the week. Everybody's back. Everybody wants to do some stuff, especially now that the fall's coming in and the summer's pretty much all but wrapped up. But hey, that's okay because you know what the next few months means every Tuesday? I mean, it's game week Tuesday, and it is game week Tuesday, our first of the year, because we are counted four, as the old four horsemen used to say, 4 days away from the start of the 2026 Florida State football season and the start of the 2026 college football season. And we had Mike Norvell's first game week press conference yesterday. We'll have some updates on what he said, some updates on the depth chart, some game notes, and some general updates as well in the sport as well. But before we get to that, as always, need to thank our friends over at Kalshi who are sponsoring today's video. Use the code FANARCHCOLLEGE to get $10 when you trade 10 over at Kalshi. Also, a reminder is that we go every single day here at 11 a.m. on YouTube, Seminoles Daily, talking the good, the bad, and the ugly. So please continue to like, subscribe, share, comment, interact. The season is picking up, so I expect our numbers to also start picking up as well. And speaking of picking up, like we said, Mike Norvell had his first Monday game week press conference. And I got to be honest, Mike seemed a little enthusiastic. Now, Mike's normally a pretty emotional guy and, pretty enthusiastic for the most part, but there seemed to be a little extra pep in the step in Mike Norvell's press conference yesterday. Talked a little bit about the excitement, which again, you can't have a little pep in your step, I guess, if you've had the last 2 years Mike's had. You're certainly anxious and eager to prove that the last 2 years were a bit of an anomaly, a bit of a fluke, or all part of the new process, the new climb 2.0, if he has a big year this year, which can start in earnest on Saturday. But Mike said he was pretty much happy with everybody's performance during camp. I do have to give Mike some credit. He did kind of acknowledge a little bit of the coach speak there. He even said himself, it's not like any coach is going to come out and say, oh, we had a terrible camp. I didn't like anybody. These guys aren't any good. We didn't do anything. Unless you're, the great Jim Mora Sr. back in the mid 90s when he was the Saints coach. Rarely are you ever going to get it. Maybe Mike Leach too. Mike Leach probably could have, said some things like that. But rarely are you getting a coach that's really going to complain about the performance of the team. But no, Mike seemed pretty optimistic, very much liked the competition, liked where the young guys are, liked where the newcomers are, where they've picked up, the system and the style. Talked a little bit about the mock game experience they've been having and kind of more in depth about that, how even the details, where you're going to stand on the sideline. They'll simulate the time between, offense and defense when you're on the bench, how long you're on the bench, who you're talking to when you're on the bench, where everybody's going to be throughout the game, etc. It is funny because those things kind of tend to naturally flow. I feel like for the most part, in my experience, if you played football on the sideline, there was always a couple of coaches. There's always the get back coach, that's the assistant, usually the assistant strength coach or a strength coach or really a non-positional coach. He's the guy that's telling everybody on the sideline, get back, get back, get back, stay behind the white line. It's a penalty if we're out there, things like that, sideline warnings, and so on. So definitely love a good get back coach. Also talked a little bit about that, where you want to be. For your groups and so on. So things like that. Also, Mike talked a little bit about Ashton Daniels, said the confidence is very high. Sounds like he's had a great camp. And I got to be honest, that I don't know whether it's just the media or just the general hopeful optimism amongst the media, not just around Tallahassee, but also national, really playing up Ashton Daniels as kind of maybe having a rejuvenation and a breakout last year run there. Sounds like he has really wowed some people at camp. So we will see Saturday what it looks like. You're not going to see a whole lot, I think, from New Mexico State. And we'll talk more about that as the week goes on. But hey, man, people are certainly high on Ashton Daniels, a lot higher than they were when he came in from the transfer portal from Auburn back in the wintertime. But one thing Mike also talked about, said that I think it was Aslan, or excuse me, I think it was Aslan maybe, or maybe Ira from both from warchant.com, kind of asked Mike about, what his concerns, if he had any concerns in 24 and 25, as opposed to like 23 and 26, like what's the vibe? What's he feeling? Mike said that, there's always going to be concerns every season. You look at a team, you look at a grouping, you look at depth, you look at experience, and there's always going to be, he said, one or two areas of concern where you say, okay, if this guy goes down, we're okay. We have the depth, we got the experience. Or hey, if this guy goes down or this guy goes down, I don't know, man. We could be in some trouble here. Talked a little bit about how you really don't know until you open up and you meet the moment, and you challenge the players to meet the moment and rise up. Something that they didn't really do a lot in 2024, and something that they did for kind of the start of 25, and talked about how they kind of, they met the moments early, but didn't quite transition as the year went on, illustrated by the losing streak and the fact that they, again, Mike hammered in the whole 5 games of one loss, of one score loss or less. They're running less than one score, but still. Talked a little bit about that. Mike also talked about the message to the team is to be their best this weekend, because there was a question about, hey, you're not exactly playing a big powerhouse team. It's more of a cupcake. It's more of a warm up. And Mike said, you don't treat it like that. You got to treat it like a real game. He wants everybody to come bring their best, because hey, if you're not bringing your best, we're going to find somebody else that can do it. Mike talked a little bit then. Again, about some of the early success that Mike has had, in particularly kind of as the underdog, and it was a good question. I think, again, I think that was Aslan that asked it, who said, yeah, you've had some kind of good success early on in your career, in particularly kind of in upset games. And you think back to, like, the North Carolina game in 2020, even 2021. They had a nice, upset season, upset win there. Talked about Notre Dame in 21. Even though they didn't win the game, they competed and they fought back and they got it to overtime. Talked about, 2022, they beat LSU. Then 23, they're still the underdog, even though they beat the team earlier. So there is kind of that little, like, little quirk of Mike Norvell, is that he's kind of, Bama last year, that he kind of has this ability at times to, really kind of galvanize the team, particularly when they're down, and pull off the big upset. The issue, of course, has been that the consistency just hasn't been there through the rest of the years and so on. Now, but speaking of consistency, let's talk a little bit about our health, gentlemen. Now, look, I love a good dad bod. I'm 41. Who doesn't, right? We all love a good dad bod. Shows age, shows wisdom, shows maturity. Older women, particularly the wives, tend to like it, but it's also never too early to think about getting back in shape. I know the summer's over and you're thinking about, hey, maybe I wasn't in my best performance this past summer. I'd like to be there next summer. Well, I say, don't wait until winter. Don't wait until March. Don't wait until April for next summer. Start thinking about it now. Start thinking about it in the fall. And the issue, of course, when you start working out in your 40s is that, hey, man, the body just doesn't snap back like it used to when I was 20. When I was 21, I could eat all the things I'm eating now. I could drink all the things I'm drinking now. It would snap back right away. Not so much around this time as I'm in my early 40s. The stomach fat just kind of sticks around the old body like it used to. That's why I like Mars Men. You see, a lot of people think that the classic dad bod, you think, oh, that's just because you're drinking too much beer, you're eating all the bad food. But no, it's not really the case. See, we're naturally start storing more fat as we get older, and losing weight is a lot easy. It's a lot less easier as we get older, because the main reason for that is testosterone. Most men's testosterone levels, you start to drop in your early 30s. When that happens, it becomes easier to gain fat, especially around the stomach. And here's the even more frustrating part: the more body fat that we gain, right? The more the body converts that testosterone into estrogen, which makes it even harder to burn fat, because the estrogen makes it easier to store fat. So it's a very vicious cycle that us guys in our early 40s are starting to experience and go through. That's why I started taking Mars Men. Mars Men's a natural supplement designed to support healthy testosterone levels, which can help your body burn fat more efficiently and, of course, build that lean muscle. When your hormones are working the way they're supposed to, right, a lot of things can get easier: workouts, energy, even staying lean. It's basically helping your body get back to running like it did 10 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. No weird stimulants or synthetic hormones. It's just real, natural ingredients like Tonkat Ali, Shilajit, zinc, boron, and more that support healthy T levels, weight management, and exercise performance. And the quality is legit. It's made in the USA, third party tested, and now available at GNC nationwide. With Mars Men, I've got more consistent energy, I'm stronger in my lifts, and I've got much better focus. It's helping me shed that dad bod. It has also improved me with a steady all day drive, less cravings, and better gym recovery, which, again, in our 40s, guys, better gym recovery is really going to go a long way to getting you the results that you want, that you maybe had in your early 20s. 90-day money back guarantee currently, so there's no risk. Look, the worst case, you don't absolutely love it, right? You're like, I tried it, I honestly love it. You get your money back. But I'm going to warn you, I'm just going to tell you, if you try it, over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. Just check out the reviews on the website and see for yourself. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life and free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please let them know Fan Arch sent you and continue to support us here at Seminoles Daily and Mars Men. Now, speaking of men, speaking of all that good stuff, let's go to our first official depth chart of the season. And guess what? There is no depth chart. That's right. There is no depth chart. It has been quite the I would say not lightning rod, I guess you could say, for this Florida State fan base and media the last couple of days. Yes, Mike Norvell announced yesterday that there is no depth chart this week, and it sounds like it's probably not going to be a thing this season. Look, logically, Mike's logic is that practice matters a lot. He come out here, put out a depth chart on Monday, but so and so's had a great week. Now all of a sudden he's the starter by Thursday. And he knows, look, the guys know where they are. Everybody on that team knows exactly where they are on that depth chart. They know their position, they know where they're going to be. I get that logic. I personally don't necessarily think it's maybe gamesmanship. I don't think there's really an advantage against New Mexico State not putting a depth chart out. Also, when you really think about it, Mike had a big habit, especially as the season went on last year, and really as the seasons go on, of putting a lot of or next to the position. So it'd be, like it'll be, Usain Kroma or Trey Wisner or Sam Singleton. And it's like at a certain point, you've got pretty much the entire, team room there. You've got the entire running back rotation on the depth chart. So I do appreciate Mike understanding that, respectfully coming out and saying, look, we're just not going to do it. I just appreciate that Mike didn't do really any gimmick stuff. If you recall, Jeff Collins, the former coach of Georgia Tech and Temple, was a big fan of the above the line depth chart he'd say, these guys are above the line. That means they're all eligible to play. And you're like, okay, dude, like is the fourth team offensive guard really going to play? Is he really above the line? Like get out of here. So that's kind of what Mike kind of hinted at and said is that look, the players know the deal. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put one out, especially because things can change through the course of the week. I get that, I understand it, but from a fan point of view, I look, it's just one of the little things that you get to the routine, you get accustomed to seeing on a Monday that gets you excited for the rest of the week. So, listen, it's just kind of the way it's going. It's what he wants. So, listen, that's Mike's prerogative. That's his wishes. Uh, I personally don't think it's as huge a deal as others have made it out to be. I will say that when you are on the hot seat and you've won 7 games over 2 years and you haven't won a road game in 2 years, it's like little things like this that can kind of be annoying to fans and media that don't really quite help your cause. They don't necessarily hurt your cause, but they don't really help your cause. But that doesn't mean that we still can't have some game notes and some things to keep in mind. Some updates from Mike. He says Trey Wisner is expected to go Saturday, so we should hopefully get to see him in the running back rotation. He did say Jason Lopez looks like he is getting the first crack at punt return. Would love to see Mr. Lopez just take one, not even just take one to the house, just catch it and go. For so long, I feel like regardless of whether it's Mike Norvell or Willie Taggart or even Jimbo, there's been a lot of, hey, just catch the ball, fair catch it. If you're not, if a guy's within 5, 10 feet, 10 yards of you, just let it go, whatever. Like, what? Let's get excited, man. Just start making a play. Start making punt return another potential weapon. And I think a guy like Lopez, I'm excited to see what he can do. Also have an update for New Mexico State. We had mentioned the safety Aya Burnock, yesterday being an impact guy for them. Well, apparently, per New Mexico State recent reports, he may not be playing Saturday. He has a lacerated liver, so maybe not just playing Saturday. He might even be missing the season. A lacerated liver just sounds absolutely painful. It's a brutal sport, and it's just kind of reminders of that. Where so hopefully a full recovery for that young man. Dominant big SEER season last year, looking to go out strong. So hopefully he can get back into the starting rotation there for the Aggies. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, another game note because they did release their game notes, not so much the depth chart, but interesting to note is that all the primary coaches for this team, that means all the position coaches and the coordinators, they will all be on the field and no one in the booth for Saturday. That's, I'm assuming, going to be subject to change over the course of the season. At a certain point, you like to maybe, coordinator likes to maybe go up top. Coordinators sometimes like to be in the field. Maybe you want your linebackers coach up top, maybe your DBs coach up top, etc. We'll see how that plays out. But for currently, as it stands for Saturday, every position coach will be on the field. Expect to see the likes of like Tom Herman, up in the booth giving their thoughts as well. Because again, we are getting closer and closer, 4 days away to the start of the season, which means college football is back, and so are the predictions. That's right. Who's making the playoffs? Who's winning the conference? Who's taking home the national title on Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform? Lets you trade those predictions in a live market. For example, Virginia is currently projected to beat NC State. Right now, Virginia is currently trading at 66%, meaning you put $100 down, your payout is $147.99. Should the Who's knock off the Wolfpack on Kalshi, you are trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use the code FANARCHCollege to get $20 when you trade $20. That's KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. And looking to trade on anything is, hey, can maybe Florida State, as we close it out today, can they pick up an NFL guy on the wire? Because that's right. If you are not familiar with the Coast's recent NCAA issues and fiascos, Daquan Wright, formerly of Ole Miss, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, expected to be released, expected to clear waivers. And with that, thanks to a temporary restraining order to a Louisiana judge, he is eligible to go to LSU and transfer to LSU. His former coach, Lane Kiffin, his former coach at Ole Miss, is now the head coach at LSU. And Daquan Wright has decided that, look, my NFL future, as evidenced by not really catching on with 2 NFL teams, including arguably one of the worst franchises in the NFL. No offense, Brownies fans. I know Browns Daily on FanArch, great show. But listen, it's unfortunately just it's who they are. And if you're not quite good enough to catch on with the Browns, you're probably not really quite good enough to catch on to most NFL teams. So Mr. Wright decided, hey, I'm going to take advantage of this restraining order, of this rule, and go back for one more year of glory at the collegiate level. Now, personally, I don't like this, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I think you were about 99.9% to poll the public, that 99.9% of them would agree this is ridiculous. You are an NFL player. You have been in NFL camp. You have been in an NFL locker room. You have played in NFL games, NFL preseason games. Presumably, you've been enjoying practices, etc. You're an NFL guy, dude. It's done. It's over. I'm sorry. It's not working out. That happens to 1,500 guys in the league. Okay. There's going to be 1,200 guys waiting for a call at the end of final cuts. Be one of those guys. Go sell insurance, go work at Enterprise, go be a personal trainer at the gym while you wait for that call for your tryout from the NFL. It's over. It's done. I don't like this. I understand the logic, and I understand that the NCAA deciding foolishly to announce this new 5-for-5 rule effective this year after the NFL draft was not a great idea, was not in the best interest of long-term growth of the sport. And you got a lot of players like Mr. Wright who, do have a justifiable case of saying, well, look, had we known this rule was in place, I wouldn't have declared and gone to the camp. But them's the breaks, man. That happens. That's the unfortunate situation. That happens. So I don't think you should be able to come back and play. I just think it's a cluster. I think it's a real mess. I do appreciate Lane Kiffin and LSU being proactive and getting a former guy there. I do think they have an elite tight end, though, so I'm not exactly sure what the purpose would be other than just some depth and maybe he's familiar with the system and can help out there. I also would not be opposed if there's a guy that Florida State could particularly find to help maybe fill a need or fill a depth piece, bringing it in. Again, I don't like the rule, but if you can take advantage of it, go ahead. But I just think again, this is a little bit ridiculous. It's just another example of the sport of just the wild, wild west that is college football, which has some cool parts and some negative parts. So, and this is just more on the negative side. But easy to we'll find out what'll happen. Would not be surprised if Mr. Wright doesn't clear waivers and somebody does pick him up. But at that same time, we will see what is going on. Everybody, that is going to be it for us today here. Reminder, we will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Probably going to be talking a little bit of the ACC. We'll do like our midweek Wednesdays. We'll probably refer to, I mean, obviously still, of course, Seminoles Daily, talking the Noles, but maybe give a little breakdown of the ACC and the week ahead of that as well. But you got to tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. at Seminoles Daily. We are closing out with pride, because we are game week 4 days away. 4 days away with pride. As always, we finish with Go Noles!